Welcome to the GSD with Jeni podcast, where we talk about how to overcome all the stuff that gets in the way of getting shit done. Imposter syndrome, fear, money, relationships, networking, building businesses. We're going to talk to experts, or as I say, mavens, that provide practical and tactical advice on how to GSD. I'm your host, Jeni Buchholz, founder and CEO of Haven Creative. Now, I started my business with $300 in a laptop and grew it to a team of Haven mavens serving clients around the world and generating over 7 figures in revenue. We were named one of the fastest growing companies in Charlotte and 2024 Crowns of Enterprise Woman-Owned Business of the Year, and I'm incredibly proud of the success we've had and to be among the 1% of woman-owned advertising agencies in the country. But I still need help too. So I started this podcast with the intent to dive deeper into the things that hold us back from achieving our goals. So thank you for joining me on this journey to GSD. Let's get started. Welcome to the GSD with Jeni podcast. Today we have Tamar Slay, former NBA player and now founder and CEO of Sleigh Basketball, an elite training facility for athletes 5 to 18. Tamar's journey into sporting greatness began in a small town. His skills caught the attention of scouts, and soon he secured a scholarship to a top-tier university. His college career was nothing short of impressive, gaining recognition as one of the most promising players in the country. After playing for the New Jersey Nets and Charlotte Bobcats, Tamar shifted his focus to empowering the next generation. He used his basketball experience to develop a Sleigh way philosophy, which emphasizes discipline, hard work, self-confidence, and perseverance, both on and off the court. His dedication to leadership and personal development perfectly aligns with the GSD mentality, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show today to share his personal story with you all today. All right, well, welcome to the show, Tamar.
Hey, what's up, Jeni? Thank you. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I told the listeners about how you have this amazing story, so I just want you to start with that, your journey into the NBA and then where you are today. So go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. So my journey started in Beckley, West Virginia, small town. I don't know the population, but, it's less than probably 8,000 people. Grew up, I had two older brothers and a younger brother. My mom and dad, raised us. We grew up humbly, to say the least. That's a big part of my story, though. That story has made me who I am today. We had some financial struggles. It was a lot of times, in my life where, basketball was the outlet, right? Like different things were going on in my own life where, I would go to the YMCA or I go to the New River Park, just play basketball for hours, right? Just not necessarily dreaming to be an NBA player, but just I love playing, right? The joy of, being distracted from whatever may have been going on in my home or whatever different things I was dealing with, normal teenage stuff as well. Basketball was that outlet for me. So I fell in love with playing, and I would go and play for hours and hours. My high school career is kind of when I guess the rest of the basketball world realized who I was, and I started getting some attention at that point, right? My sophomore year I was happy to make varsity, and then between my sophomore and junior year grew really around 6 or 7 more inches, and then I started getting really good, right? And I started getting letters from colleges, and I was first team All-State. We won the state championship, and my popularity grew, in the state. And then I came back my senior year, I won Player of the Year that year. And I was just talking to my son about that the other day, just about what I went through my senior year. That's when things were really, you're old enough to kind of know what's going on. So my situation to be here, I may win MVP of a tournament, and then I go home and maybe our lights are off that week. And it's just, you go from a high to a low, right? We win the state championship, and then the next week, the landlord tell my mother we got 30 days to get out of the house or we're going to be on the street. But then, I signed a scholarship to go to college. My first month in college, my uncle was murdered. So this is all happening at the age of 18. 1 minute you're on top of the world, and then the next minute life's like, no, this is what life is really like too. So it was a lot of ups and downs. And now that I'm 44 years old, uh, you know, being able to emotionally understand what's going on with you. At that age, I thought I had it figured out, and then I got an 18-year-old son myself. I had no clue how to handle it. And all the young listeners out there, it's very important at that age to have someone that you can communicate with and kind of vent and let everything that you're worried about, your fears, your desires to do this or that, talk to someone about that. Because it's very important, because a lot of times you may end up going down, you may end up in the wrong room. That's what I tell my youngsters. Sometimes you may end up in the wrong room just because of some of the things that you're dealing with in your life. Luckily for me, I did have that basketball that was able to keep my life structured in a way to where, I spent a majority of my time there, and it kept me away from some of the things that, you know, naturally my boys and people that I grew up with was doing. I had great coaches. I had great mentors that, inspired me, gave me advice that I wasn't getting from folks that I was hanging out around. So, at my life, now that I'm on the other side of it, I guess I went up over the hill and maybe coming down a little
No,
bit.
you're not done yet.
Yeah. I'm definitely, I got some more going, but I look at that journey, and for me to come from, Beckley, West Virginia, extremely humble beginnings, and make it all the way to the NBA, I had to withstand a lot. And again, I know I didn't do this by myself. God was there, my parents, I had people around me, coaches that helped me along the way. But it's a heck of a story, right? I would read my book if I had one. I would read it because, coming like some of the things that I seen or went through in my life, to be able to, then the reason why I say that, Jeni, is because I'm now a coach, and I see how hard these kids are working, and some of them don't even get a scholarship to college. And then, these players that I see and I watch on TV now, this heck of a basketball players, they don't get to play in the NBA. And for me to be able to get from where I was all the way to, the biggest stage in basketball, one of the most popular sports in the world, they pick 54 guys every year out of billions that's playing the sport, you know, that's big time. I pat myself on the back, right? Again, I give props to those who helped me out along the way, but it was a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice involved in my journey to get all the way to the NBA. That's kind of my, it was some pitfalls there, Jeni, but that's kind of my journey to the NBA. It's just, staying with it, staying disciplined. And just, I tell my kids all the time, if you don't love this thing, basketball, it's too hard, right? And I truly love the sport of basketball, and I would do it for free, right? I would have played basketball for free. I would coach for free if, things weren't so expensive right now. You got to make some money out here.
For sure, for sure. You left out a big piece to that, though. So you started when you got that scholarship to Marshall. Tell me about that. I know there's a specific story, because you started in what was going on at home when you started college.
Yeah. So, soon as the basketball season ended, I kind of touched on a little bit, the landlord came up to my mother and said, "You guys got 30 days to be out of this house." And, we just didn't have it at the time. My mom didn't have a job. We were homeless. So, but from, I guess, February until the start of, the next school year when I went to college, I was homeless. So I had to, I had a good friend, Ted Green. Shout out to Ted and his mom, Pee Wee and Big Ted. Rest in peace to his grandma, who just passed away recently. A lot of times, they had a basement. I would just crash on their couch, or, my brother's girlfriend had an apartment. We would crash there, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on the couch this summer. And that's why I just, I feel like I'm so blessed to be able to have that right genetic to look at that moment as for strength and not of weakness, right? During that time, I remember coming home and I would see my mother, sleeping on the floor. I would see my brother sleeping on the floor. With me, in the basement by myself at my boy's crib, just thinking of ways I could get out of that, not ways I could make it worse. So I would get up the next day and go to the YMCA. I would walk to the YMCA and, this usually is me in there by myself early in the mornings and just play ball for hours and hours. Again, knowing that I was going to play in the NBA, but it was a place of peace. And I enjoyed the challenge of getting better. And again, at that point, I was realizing that, I was having a lot of success, right? So let's keep this going. My goal, at that point, I'd already signed a scholarship offer to go to Marshall. It was just to, graduate from college. That was the goal. And then I get to Marshall my freshman year. I averaged 7 points a game, was just an average player. But again, my work ethic, I wasn't satisfied with that. I started working even harder and I went from averaging 7 points to 20 points. And at that point, I'm hearing chatter, from people saying like, man, they saying you can go into the NBA. And I'm, naive and, super, super duper country boy. Like I wasn't, like my high school coach told me never to read, my press clipped me. So I wasn't reading any of that crap. I was just laser focused on being the best player I could be for Marshall University. And I found out later on that, if I would have left school my sophomore year, I would have been a top 10 pick in the draft. And I had no idea about that. So now, that next year I go into my junior year, I got, NBA teams coming to my practice. They're at my games, they're all in my games. And now it starts to get real. And I'm not even going to lie. It took away from that pressure came in. It took away from my joy because now I'm like, wow, I
Like
can
you
make a
have
lot of
to.
money playing basketball, right? This is something that I know I really need. And it did add an extra pressure on me because every jump shot I took, it was like, I can buy my mom this, or I can buy this, I can get everybody out of it. So it added pressure to me, right? I necessarily didn't have before. So I wish I would have listened to my coach and stopped and didn't ever read my press clippings and just stayed humble and not necessarily I wasn't humble, but just stayed laser focused
Focused.
on
Yeah.
the goal. Because some people like that attention and do better under it. I like to be the guy in the room nobody talks to and just do my work. All right, I was that type of guy. So yeah, I hope that answered your question about that part.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think you had the characteristics of that, the grit, the perseverance to keep pushing and be disciplined. Do you think that you were born with that? Do you think it developed over time because of the coaches and the people around you? And the reason I ask is because, you are creating athletes today, really elite
Yeah.
athletes, and they either have it or they're learning it. What do you think?
Yeah, so yeah, I think I was born with it. I think this is a gift from God for sure. Because a lot of times I'm talking with maybe my peers, even my teammates when I played, or when I'm coaching a kid now, I'm seeing something in them that they don't see. Right, the attention to detail, the perseverance ability. I mean, just the teamwork part of it, like all those different things that I naturally have that no one really had to coach for me. I see some folks don't have that, right? They don't have it, and this is where I think I feel that gap for some of the athletes that I'm training now, and even with my teammates. I got a good buddy of mine that comes over every year that I play with in Italy, Fabio Di Bella, and he was the one who kind of gave me belief that I could be like a coach, right? Because we used to do, like, I played with him my last year playing. Before every game, I would give a pep talk, right? And I'm getting the guys excited, like, boom, boom, boom. You know how my pep talks are, Jenny. I'll be getting
Yes, I
people
did.
fired up, right? And I didn't, that was the first time I was ever doing that as a player. And one game I didn't do it. And then the whole team was kind of that, like looking like Slay, you're not gonna talk to us before we go out. And after the game, Fabio kind of talked to me and was like, look, man, like this is what you say, even the music. I'll tell you that song you were asking me about, even the song that I would make the team listen to before we went out to play, and my pep talk it motivated them, right? It made them believe more. And, little things like that. Now that I'm older and I look back, those were little inspirations for me to know that, I got a special gift to be able to motivate and make people believe, even when the chips may be down. I always feel like it's a way to figure it out. And it's a gift and a curse sometimes, right? For me, but I think that's a special quality that God gifted me with that a lot of people don't have, and I try to give to.
Yeah. So what kind of advice would you give someone who is struggling right now that is trying to overcome the head trash, maybe like the anxiety of performance, just trying to get to that next level? What advice would you give that person?
Well, I mean, really, you have to tell them to keep believing, right? Right, to see the bigger picture, because I think when you go down that rat hole of, oh, I can't do it, or what this person's thinking, that person's thinking, you get distracted from what your main goal is. So, a lot of positive affirmation to them about, like, you can do it, believe in yourself, try again, like little simple things like that, go a long ways with folks that don't have the personality or the spirit to, make a mistake and still come back again. Like, I'm going to try this again, or lose the game and be like, or lose 50 games and still feel like they got a chance. Right. And I was that type of dude. I got to give my older brothers some credit too, because I used to lose and get beat up a lot, and I had to keep coming back if I wanted to hang, right? So I had to figure it out. And again, those little things like that have helped mold and shape who I am today, as a husband, as a father, as a coach. Like those little things that I took for granted and then realized how much they were helping me now is, part of, Sleigh basketball, right? I mean, because we have a lot of kids in our organization that, you know, lack confidence. A lot of kids in our organization that are scared of failure. A lot of kids in our organizations, when they do fail, all right, what's next? Let me go try to, maybe I can figure this out. And I feel like that's okay. But I also feel like if because my dad always told me never give up. If you give up on something, you're going to give up on something else. You're going to give up on something else. And then you're never really going to really truly find your way. You're going to be jumping around a lot. So these transferable skills that we like to say, also is going to apply for you, once you go to college, once you graduate college, once you start a family, once you start working or be a business owner. You're going to need all these transferable skills that we, on a consistent basis are preaching to our kids.
Yes. I was going to ask you, so I think about kids that have that fear and anxiety about performing. And I know my son, he gets really anxious on the court, shows up differently when it's game time. Did you ever have that starting out?
Yeah, I mean, Jeni, I'll tell you what. I mean, not only in the NBA, but every game. Every
Really?
game I had super high anxiety. So
Really?
I had to find what got me to where I was ready for that. And I was the type of guy, I told my high school team this the other day, like, in order to get to your focus before practice, you got to find that space that gets you focused. Like some folks are silly. They like to laugh and joke around. I was a loner, right? I needed to be alone, like before practice or before a game. I had to get into my mental space, and I mean, you can call it meditation now, but I would replay everything every scenario that I could think of. I would play it over in my game. I know I prepared. I know I worked hard as I could, just like your son in practice. He know he can do it because he's doing it down in practice. Now he needs to get to a space and before a game starts and play that game out in his head. Play the good and the bad. Like play that you're going to make every shot. but also play that scenario when you miss the shot or you do turn it over. How do you handle it? How do you respond to it? And I found, when I got into that zone, a lot of the stuff came to fruition. Like it would happen. It's stuff that I played, I'm going to hit that shot. I may get beat off the dribble and the guy score on me, or we may be down. I want to come out and beat every team by 20 points. We may be down 20. I would play that scenario like how much mental toughness is it going to take for me to keep the same amount of energy or even give more energy to come back to win that games. To answer your question, it was more so, finding what gets you going. Like what gets you going to where you can handle the good and the bad in a basketball game. And I don't talk more to Lim about that. I'll talk more about that to the rest of the organization, because I just told my high school team that the other day because I was disappointed with them. Like, our focus at the beginning of practice is not there. And I think guys just, they're on their cell phones, they're talking to this, and they have no idea, like they're not ready. They're not mentally prepared for what they're going to face. I think that for me, that was the key. Like if I remember my first game with the Bobcats, Jeni, my first game with the Bobcats, I had a routine before every game. Like when I was in the NBA, when I played in Europe, shoot around, come back, lunch, nap, wake up, eat, go to the game. So that first game with the Bobcats, and if Coach Biggerstaff listened to that, because I played horribly that game, my agent and my financial advisor decided they wanted to be at the first game, so they wanted to go to lunch after shoot around. So we went to lunch. It lasted longer than what it normally lasted, and I was thrown off, which is probably a bad thing. I should have been able to handle that, but I was thrown off from my pattern, and I didn't get to my right mental space that I needed to get to, and it threw me off. I think it's important, if you are struggling, because I know my anxiety get me, because I'm always like, man, what if I don't do well? Then you got 14,000 people out there watching you play first game of the season.
Right.
And I came in the game, my first play, no normal plays that I make, I drive, and one of my teammates is open. And listen to this, it's Sleigh basketball, folks. Listen to this. My first pass, I throw the pass into the bleachers. The guy's wide open because my adrenaline is too much. I'm too excited. I want to do well so bad.
Yeah.
And it was plenty of games like that. When I would come out I would be so jacked. The first 2 or 3 minutes of the game, my shots may be long. I may make mistakes I normally make. But again, I had already played those scenarios out in my head, and, I know that I can make up for it later down the road. Fortunately, when you're in the NBA, you make mistakes like that, you don't get to come back, right? So I don't think I played anymore after that, just because I wasn't ready to play that game. But, that was something, that's the story, guys, if you're listening, it happens. Like, you're going to make mistakes. You want to, especially when you really, really want it. Sometimes you get too excited, but how do you respond to that is the question.
Absolutely. Tell me, what do you think makes a great athlete? What characteristics, what traits?
First of all, you gotta have a tremendous work ethic. You gotta be humble. You gotta be a great listener. And, I think for me, and it may not be for others, but being a great teammate, right? Being that teammate that is not a prick, right? That's going to help others, right? That's going to be encouraging others or holding others accountable. I think that's huge. Supporting, like I wasn't always a starter. I had to be the bench guy sometimes. And it's important, to support others. It's important to respect your coach. All those things, are on my list of things that makes a great athlete.
Nice. Talk to me too about the importance of being in a team sport for these young athletes.
Yeah. Well, I was saying it earlier, those transferable skills, right? Teamwork, hard work, perseverance. I mean, even time management, leadership, all these things that, will carry on not only on the court, but in the classroom, right? If you got these qualities of time management and hard work and, being a great listener, you're probably going to be a great student. And then that stuff then carries on over to how you respect your parents at the house, right? How are you when when you get a job and you're working for someone else? Are you humble enough to listen to your boss, or are you going to be the type of guy that your boss tell you to do A and you do B, right? Then you're going to end up changing jobs forever. Now the leadership part comes in if if you want to be a CEO, you got to be able to lead, you got to be able to motivate, you got to be able to communicate. So you hear us talk about communication all the time in basketball, right? Like, being able to communicate with your teammates. All those transferable skills have really helped me, right, with Sleigh basketball because, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, and everything I just mentioned, I had to have, and perseverance is probably the biggest
Mm-hmm.
one, right? Because, I
Mm-hmm.
had made $1 in 10 years doing this thing, right? I've been trying to build it up and just
Yeah.
staying with it. And I see a lot of my fellow trainers or fellow teammates, they started off and they may be going there for a minute, and the minute it's not hot anymore. Okay, what happened to your Instagram post? What happened to this? What happened to that? What you doing now? They got a completely different job. And for me, like I get excited, I get excited when it's hard, right? I
I
get
mean,
excited yeah. So
You told me that once. You said you work best when your back is up against the wall because it sounds like that's exactly what drove you throughout your career. You said it earlier, the ups and downs. I mean, being an entrepreneur is full of that roller coaster moments, right?
yeah, it is. Like I said, that's a gift and curse for me. Like if you put the chips down on me, man, I turn into a werewolf. I turn into a werewolf, and I'm pretty consistent when I'm doing well. But the moment something goes wrong, it's like my Superman powers come into play, right? And
Yeah.
again, I think that's from my childhood, right? The moments I talked about of seeing my mother and brother, not having a place to live and not having food to eat, and or this is my uncle, being murdered, things like that. It was always like, okay, what can I do to make the situation better? And that's the transferable skill that I've now used in the business world. That's helped me stay consistent, and also helped open up many, many doors for me here lately with Sleigh basketball.
Absolutely. So, talk to me about that transition into becoming an entrepreneur and the creation of the Sleigh Way. Like, what does that mean to you? What is that all about?
I mean, it was just my story. I mean, it was really just my story, like the stuff that I talked about so far, like everything that I did as a basketball player and, as just being a normal person is what Slay basketball is all about, right? Like when you walk into this door, this small gym that we have here, it's a family atmosphere. What I mean? People, you giving hugs, you high-fiving the kids, coaches are talking with parents, knowing them by their first name. And then when the kids step on the court for that hour, like we're locked in. I mean, it's serious business. We're not allowing kids to run to the line. We're telling our kids to run through the line, right? We're not allowing kids to cheat a drill, right? We're not allowing them to take shortcuts. We're challenging them when they think they can't run another suicide. Come on, we got one more.
Yep.
Right. And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all
Mhm.
about. And again, I got kids now. I've been doing this for so long. We got kids who are in college now. Some of them are just students, right? And they still may check, happy birthday, coach. I'm doing great. We got kids that's in our basketball player, Keenan Jackson, for example. I mean, him and my son are best friends, but he's a freshman at NC State playing football, and he's getting minutes as a freshman, right? So little things that we were giving him as a fifth and sixth grader, he's now using, and I told him this before he went to school. Well, it was throughout his senior year, and he played at Weddington. He ended up winning, I think, player of the year in football and a state championship. And he came back in from NC State, and I said, Keenan, I didn't say nothing to you your senior year, but the kid had that focus that I was talking about. He would come
Mm.
in here from track practice, and he would come in right after track practice exhausted, and it wouldn't be no talking, no joking around. He would just work his tail off. And all, you could see every drill he was doing, he had a purpose with it. And, for him to sign with NC State and get minutes as a freshman at a large school like that shows that his work ethic is just the same as his senior, because he's been doing it his whole life, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
when he gets to college, it's not a big jump now. I've been working that hard, right? That's usually the biggest learning curve for freshmen, is that the seniors are working much harder than you. They're doing everything a little bit faster, but he's already been doing that. That was, I looked him in his eyes and said, I'm so proud of you for that, because you get it. Like you understand, like, this is not a game. Like, when I step in here, this is what I want to do. I got to be focused. I got to be intentional with every workout that I do if I want to have success in this. And that's something I can tell my kids to do, but that's a you thing. Like, you gotta.
Yeah, like you gotta have that.
I can't do that for you, right? So, and he got it, and that was a proud coach moment right there, just to see a kid come in here and be intentional in his workout, and not, just kind of doing the sets, and because that's the separator between the good and the great, right? The good, they're gonna come in and they're gonna be consistent with it, and they're gonna do the workout. But the great, they're gonna do every workout with purpose and
Like they
intention.
want it. Yeah, you can tell they want it. So what does that feel like to see him succeed? And then maybe talk about your son now too, who is going to your college, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, I mean, my head's burning right now. I'm glowing, right? I'm getting chill bumps, when you think about, the time you spent with these kids, the amount of work you put in with them, see them creating their own name, creating their own path, it brings me tears of joy every time, Jenny, every time.
Uh,
Every time I tear up on something, it brings you tears of joy, because, my son, for example, I guess I can share this. Yeah, my
yeah.
son, for example, we had a great talk last summer, probably the best talk we ever had. When he talked to me about, you know, what he had to deal with growing up. And I didn't know, like, because I played in the NBA, because I coached him, he would get, his friends would tease him like, "Oh, the only reason you're playing is because of your dad," or "Your dad only played 3 years in the NBA," or "You're not as good as your dad," or, "You're not going to be able to walk in his shoes," and different things like that
Mm.
he had to deal with, right? And that's a lot, right? Especially
Uh,
as the dad, you always want to protect your kids. And for him to tear up, because he's not a crier, for him to tear up and, tell me these things, made me give him more respect. Like, I didn't have to deal with that crap, right? And, he and, Sarah Muhammad and different guys that live in the area whose dad played in the NBA, he said, I used to have conversations with them and they had to deal with that crap too. I've even had referees that told me, yeah, your son think he's that good. This because you played in the NBA. So little things like that bother. Yeah, it bothered
yeah.
me because we just go out here like everyone else. We try to be as normal as possible, treat everybody with respect. And now I think even his evaluation with recruiting, like his standards of who he was a player, the way they evaluated him was much higher than others. Just for
Mm.
the simple fact that I played in the NBA, and then you may watch a clip of him, and then you're expecting to see one thing when just based on what you think he is, but not really what he truly brings to a team. And that's why we did choose Marshall, because the coach there, you know, noticed and was able to see everything that my son brings to a basketball team as a player. And they also showed them that they really wanted him, right? And, to answer your question, him signing with Marshall University it was a blessing for him. Like, since he was a kid, he was like, I want to go to Duke or Marshall, Dad. He's always said that.
Oh, yeah.
Duke didn't come calling, and Marshall did. He he knew this was a place, because we had other schools that he was looking at. We had business set up for, and once they met him outside the school one day, and after that meeting right there, he was like, "Dad, I'm ready to do it." And I was like, you sure? He was like, absolutely. So, he made the commitment early, and I trust the coach. I know the city. I love the school. So we're super excited about that. Can't wait to see what this senior year brings him, and then his journey in college. I can't wait to see, because he's better than me, and he's going to be better than me. It's just,
Really?
folks to know that they'll see that sooner or later. Yeah, he's talented as heck. He just got to put a few more things together, which is normal. But man, he's gonna be great.
That's pretty. I mean, you're a Marshall family, right? Because your wife went there with you as well.
Yeah. We're green and white, so I mean,
Yeah,
we're going, like he posted. He said, "I'm coming home," so that's
I
home
love
for
that.
us. I mean, my Bryce as a kid, he's always watched every basketball game. He know all their stats. He know the coaches. I mean, the football, like a huge. He don't miss it. Like, even if we're like at the gym and the Marshall game's on, he'll have his phone set up. He's constantly checking the score, or like
Wow.
talking about this player and that player. So it's cool for him to be able to go to a school he grew up loving. Right? How sweet is that? So
Hmm.
I'm super, super hyper for him. Hype.
That's awesome. All right, tell me a story from the NBA that you never told anyone.
Now I can't do that.
Come on, there's got to be a crazy story or something funny. Let's see. There's got to be something in there you can tell me.
Well, here's a story for you, Jenny. I'm at the bank today, and it's another sad one. I get a text today from my wife that said, she said, call me, and I was like, I'm at the bank. She was like, one of your teammates passed away. And I said, oh no. I was like, I didn't want to take the call at the bank, but he's a household name. I played with him with New Jersey Nets. The Dikembe Mutombo passed away today from brain cancer. When I got drafted to the New Jersey Nets, I knew it was a good team because they had played in the finals before. But that first day walking into the locker room, I got Dikembe Mutombo sitting across from me right here, and I got Jason Kidd sitting here. Like, these are two Hall of Fame
Yeah.
basketball players that, when I was in middle school, I think they were already in NBA. So I'm watching these guys play in the finals and watching them on ESPN, and I'm in the locker room with these guys. And then Mutombo, as I just posted about him, like, he treated everyone like family. So the first thing he told me, right, after the first game, I had on like a cheap suit, is, bro, I'm going to take you and buy you 5 suits because you don't know how to dress, right? So he bought me suits, and then he also, like, my boys from West Virginia came up. I introduced them right to Mutombo after the game. Mutombo's like 7'1". I introduced him after the game. He's like, "Come on, let's go to dinner." So he take my boys never met a guy like that before from West Virginia. He takes us out to dinner. And, he's just telling stories about, Michael Jordan. He's telling stories about, when he was a rookie, and, just the life of an NBA player. And, I mean, he's hilarious. If anybody know Mutombo, you guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, his voice alone, and then his personality was just hilarious. Like, we were in the floor laughing. It's surprised we didn't get kicked out of there. We was laughing so hard. But that was, unfortunately, he was taken from us today way too early, 58 years old, had brain cancer. Again, I got to spend some time with him when I worked with the union for the NBA. And then it couldn't have been too long ago. I mean, 5, 6 years ago, I'm in Carolina courts. We're in Carolina courts in Concord, and I see a big 7'1" dude, coaching. I'm like, man, is that Dinky? Is that Dinky? So I walk up on him. He's in the middle of the game coaching. I just walk right on the sideline and just like that up. We're hugging each other, and he's asking about my family. How's everybody doing? I was like, well, I got my team. I got one of my teams, or I think it was my son's team I was coaching at the time. So he said, tell him after the game, tell him to come over here so we can take a picture. So they got to take a picture with them, and it was just, that's how he was. I ran into him, in Vegas a few times, and it was always just, some NBA guys, man, you may be their teammate. They may walk right past you, not even speak. I mean, this with the
Hmm.
egos and different things, different personalities. But he would. he was a family guy, right? He treated everyone like family and friends. So, rest in peace, Dinky. Man, gonna miss him. Gonna miss him. He was a great dude, legend.
Man, that's a good story though.
Yeah.
That happened.
Well, that's my NBA story for you today.
There you go. I'm gonna pause for a second. I want to see catching up. Roller coaster, entrepreneurship, Sleigh. Okay. So we talked about a lot about your journey, the ups and downs, the roller coasters. What's next for Tamar Slay?
What's next? Okay. We're definitely going to continue what we're doing now. We talk about the word development all the time. We're going to keep developing these young kids, keep developing our coaches. I'm going to keep developing as a leader, impacting these kids' life, both on and off the court. We're down here in Waxhaw right now. We do plan on making an announcement here sooner about, some different changes in the organization for the better. We got to wait for the ink to dry on that stuff first. But, we got big things planned. Like this, like you said earlier in the call, it's just the beginning. And I agree. Like I'm just now starting to figure this entrepreneur, this development, this coaching thing out. I'm just now starting to figure it out. I've been, going through my necessary steps to greatness, right? To get there, because I couldn't start off to be the best coach or trainer in the world, but I do my homework. I work hard. I'm continually trying to grow as a leader of this organization to make sure our athletes, not necessarily the best team or best players in the country, but that I'm giving them the right tools to be the best player and team they can possibly be based on where they start from, based on their talent or whatever the case may be. Because I know the impact I have for these guys is not just going to be on a basketball court. It's going to be, when they're my age, right? And they're going to be, they're going to be telling Coach Slay stories. Like, I remember my coach told me, when, I missed 10 free throws in a row, he told me I could make the next one. And I hit the next one and we won the championship, right? Little things like that is what we're doing this thing for. It's not for me to, that's one thing about me. I'm not doing this stuff to grow my popularity in one bit, right? Like I've done what I had to do in the basketball world. I can sit at the big kid table, when it comes down to conversations in the basketball world, right? My resume is stamped. I don't have to do anything to try to prove myself. So everything that I do and I give back is for the kids. It's not to get me more followers, not to get more attention to Tamar Slay. Even Slay's name's on here. That's just what I came up with, when I first retired. Yeah, I just
Wait,
came up with that. Yeah.
You have the best name though, seriously, Slay. Like, come on, Slay in basketball, and it made the perfect acronym, right? Stay ready, lead by example, act with courage, you get what you put in.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's what I've heard. So that's why we've always stuck with it. And again, people who don't know me, they may be like, man, he just want to put his name. Nah, it's not about that. I want the best for these athletes and kids. I want to see them succeed, and I'm passionate about this. Right, I'm here now, about to have a meeting with my coaches just on this week's plan. Plan of development. So, that's what it's all about for me.
That's what's next. You're not done.
Not done, just getting started.
Very good. All right. So last question. Everyone has a hype song. You alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what is your hype song?
I got a few, but the one that's jumping out to me the most that we listened to, I was just telling you the story about, Fabio Di was Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. Like
Nuh-uh.
that gosh, that's something. Because I told you I was a loner, and
God.
it puts you in the right meditation. It's not, it's a focus. It's more of a focus rhythm to it, right? You can sit there, you feel like you're Rocky Balboa or something, man, ready to take on a big fight, listen to that. So then after that, you would have to turn on Tupac, Ambitious as a Rider, something like that. That Tupac song. So those two right there were my go-tos. Like I'm ready to, if I listened to those songs before I played you, I probably was going to get 30 to 40 points for sure.
The mashup of Phil Collins to Tupac, just like
That's different. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Yeah.
that hits. All right, I like it. We're gonna add them both to the playlist. So, hey, love talking with you. Obviously, we've known each other for a little bit, but it's been awesome to get to know you better through the coaching, through Sleigh, through my son. Being on the team. So I believe in everything you're doing, and you got to keep doing the good work to help these kids with their mental mindset and their game through the Sleigh. So thank you.
All right, Jeni. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Bless. All right.
Thanks for listening to GSD with Jeni. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. For more ways to GSD, you can also find me on LinkedIn at Jeni Buchholz, where you can sign up for my Maven Mindset newsletter, or follow me on Instagram at Maven Jeni. Until next time, go GSD, Mavens!